Hello there, and it's good to see you here again on the EduTalk Show. The EduTalk Show is brought to you by the Ministry of Education in partnership with the Teacher Education Journal. Well, in this episode, we are continuing our conversation on the secondary education curriculum. What's new, how many subjects will be taught in our secondary education institutions, and what we'll be taking out, and how are our school children going to be competing at the global level. These are all issues that we'll be unpacking with my guest, who is a curriculum expert. He's been working with the Ministry of Education and the National Council for Curriculum and Assessment. Stay with us. We'll be right back. When we return, I'll tell you who's joining us on the EduTalk Show. Keep watching. And you're welcome back from the break. You're still with us here on the EduTalk Show. The EduTalk Show, as always, is brought to you by the Ministry of Education in partnership with the Teacher Education Journal. Well, as I was indicating to you earlier, we're looking at the features of the proposed secondary education curriculum. You know, when we're talking about curriculum, you need the experts to help you out. Guess what? I have one with us here to do the discussion, and I'm talking about Professor Eric Daniel Ananga. He's a curriculum expert who's been working with the Ministry of Education and also the National Council for Curriculum and Assessment. So it tells you that he has vast experience in what we're about to discuss. Professor Ananga, welcome to the EduTalk Show.
Thank you.
Well, we'll be talking about the proposed secondary education curriculum shortly. But from your perspective, why is this so crucial to the education sector?
You know, over the years, we've been trying as a nation to review curriculum. And the existing senior high school curriculum that is running is long overdue for review. So we say that the curriculum has actually outlived its usage, and it's very critical that we take a second look at it and then review it and bring it up to date with the emerging trends locally, nationally, and globally. So we think is one of the main reasons why NACA, whose mandate it is to develop pre-tertiary curriculum, focus on supporting in developing a new curriculum for secondary schools in Ghana.
So what are the principles then underpinning this new curriculum? Because many are asking why this and why now?
Okay, in response to that, I would say one, a lot has changed. Like I said, globally, nationally, a lot is changing. And one of the key principles is in the area of inclusion, equity, and inclusivity to ensure that all are on board and every learner in the classroom is benefiting from teaching and learning, particularly learning in the school system at the secondary school level. The next thing is pedagogy. That is the pedagogical approaches that teachers are using. One of the key principles is to use more critical pedagogy and interactive pedagogy, and to support a move away from children or students just listening to the teacher as the sage on the stage, but to be key players in knowledge generation and supporting their learning. Then another thing that is a key principle in the curriculum is ensuring that everybody is talking about STEM now. So issues
and by
of STEM,
you're talking about
we're
science
talking
and
about
technology,
science, technology, and mathematics and engineering to be part of the curriculum as a cross-cutting team. And also, another major principle is moving away from just recall to include knowledge hierarchy and other levels of learning and application that the students have to do. So these are the key principles that underpin the revision of the new curriculum.
But like you said, times are changing, so we need to adjust. But there are also expectations that once we adjust and roll out this new curriculum, there'll be a direct impact on schools as well. What are you able to say about the expectations and the ability of this new curriculum to meet those expectations that people have that will indeed transform our secondary education?
You know, I'll take that from two aspects, from the point of the teacher and the point of the learners. Then maybe as we move on, I'll enter into the content and structure of the subject itself. In terms of the teacher, the expectation is that now the young people or the students in senior high school, the learners, cannot continue to be passive learners in the classroom. There is a need to make them active learners, not passive listeners. So to make them active learners, teachers have to change their pedagogy. Now, if teachers change their pedagogy, it will have an impact on how the students contribute to their own learning, kind of self-directed learning, and eventually becoming lifelong learners. And teachers will need to empower them to be able to do that effectively. Then also, we've been talking about acquisition of core competencies, global skills, 21st century skills and competencies, where we want young people to be able to communicate effectively, both in written and in orally. We expect them to be aware of what is happening in the whole world globally. We expect young people to practice critical thinking and come out with problem-solving skills. We want young people to be able to do a lot of systems thinking so that when issues come up, they are not just looking at the surface of the issue, but they are thinking of and talking about what the implications are directly and indirectly for all the sectors of the economy and our life as a whole. So this new curriculum, we hope, will impact on how young people think, how they see themselves, and what they see themselves doing as by way of contributing to the development of this
country. So
country.
it's more about problem solving now?
Yes.
That's what we're driving towards. But how about the context itself? Because mind you, we're trying to do this so our nation can also benefit out of it. So in terms of the context, how are we framing this curriculum to make sure that it reflects what the country wants and where we strive to be?
Contextually, we know there are huge problems of unemployment in the country currently. And when the young people finish high school, a proportion of them are able to move to tertiary institutions. The rest of them are expected to enter the world of work. But do we have jobs for them? And the way our education curriculum had been structured, over the years, we train young people to finish school and go and apply and look for jobs. Now, the current situation is that those jobs are non-existent. That requires that we retrain the young people so that when they are finishing high school, preparing to enter university or the world of work, they have some skills to be able to adjust to what they will meet in the world of work. For example, he goes to an organization that is employing him or her after senior high school. Now, the young person must be trainable and should have some soft skills that the organization hiring that young person can pick on, and it will be faster. But it looks like, as the situation is, that is not happening very well, and there's a need to do that. Now, where we aspire to be in the future is to be at a place where the Ghanaian youth see themselves as people who are contributing to fixing the unemployment problems in the country. So that is where we want to be. We want everybody to contribute, not to wait for government to employ, not to just go to offices, but to begin to show entrepreneurial skills on their own, and also they can set up their own small businesses. And talking to a lot of young people, you see that they have a lot of ideas. But these ideas to set up business and get self-employed and employ colleagues has not been well nurtured in the structured senior high school curriculum, even at the university level. So it's critical that this reform in the senior high school curriculum is touching on those things, and we expect to see ourselves in that space in the future where young people are no more waiting to finish school and get employed.
But Prof, let's make it relatable. Practicality. So when we talk about this new curriculum, which aspects of it address some of these needs that you identified?
Okay, so when you pick the content and the structure of the curriculum, and then the pedagogy, the teaching, and the assessment, students are no more being assessed. The recommendation is not to just ask them what is, and then they sit in the exam and recall for you, but we should be assessing them in a way that they can apply more of what they have learned to solve real-life problems or to solve authentic problems of society, so that they can connect. Sometimes we hear on social media, and sometimes people say we learn a lot about Kai. What is the value of Kai? And I've seen this. Somebody said we've been drawing this cockroach and fish. We didn't know that we are just coming to use fish to eat kinky when we become adults. Now, because the assessment has focused on just reproducing information,
Right.
this new curriculum is moving away from just reproducing information to demonstrating how the information the individual student acquires can be used to apply to solve problems. So that is where we are hoping to see practicality. So for example, in the drafting of the curriculum, we had conversation with students and teachers and the team. And in terms of mathematics, I'm just using that as an example. And an assessment question can ask the students, for example, to say, using your knowledge of the concept of circumference and radius, you are the headmaster of your school, or your parent wants to build a summer hut on a piece of land in the house. Now, this is the size of the land. Now, will you advise they build 3 small summer houses, or they build 5 small summer huts in the house? And what is the reason for that? Now, the student can now tell you the application of that theoretical, conceptual knowledge of circumference and radius to tell you, if we build it by this size, we can contain more people in the room, or if we build it by this size or by this design, the place becomes much more beautiful.
Prof, I think I'm fair to say you've given a free question already for the WASI candidates anyway. But I recall the controversy about what the head is used for. You remember the whole controversy generated. And I'm sure this is all part of the problems that we're trying to address in this new curriculum. But I'm interested also, when we return, for us to look at what are the new subjects in this curriculum, what's being taken out, what's new in it, and how will it address some of these problems that we have identified. It's all coming up here on the EduTalk Show. Stay with us. We'll be right back. We're speaking to Professor Eric Daniel Ananga. Thank you for staying with us on the EduTalk Show. The EduTalk Show is brought to you by the Ministry of Education in partnership with the Teacher Education Journal. I hope that you're learning a lot about this proposed secondary education curriculum. We're moving into another phase of that conversation with the expert who's helping us with the discussion. I'm talking about Professor Eric Daniel Ananga. He's been working with the Ministry of Education and the National Council for Curriculum and Assessment. So it tells you that he has drunk this document to the core. That's what he tells us. So let's move to the next phase, Doc. Let's talk about the subjects, because obviously we're going to practicalize this in our classrooms as well. So if we're looking at this proposed curriculum, what's going to be new about it in terms of the subjects that will be taught in the classroom?
Thank you. Currently, we have about 62 subjects in the curriculum in terms of numbers. And the proposed new curriculum, that has been reduced. But interestingly, the beautiful thing about this is that no single subject is thrown away. Every subject, the 61 subjects remain.
That's magic.
Yes, it's not magic. It's just the names, the nomenclature, and the reorganization.
That's changing.
So we have certain subjects that come with 5 different subject areas, for example. They are just given one identity. But then in terms of the content and how the content is organized, all the other 5 areas are embedded in it. So they come as just one area. And
give us an example.
In the area of home economics, we have home economics in the senior high schools running as a program, not as a subject. So a student taking home economics will have to take management and living, food and nutrition, clothing and textile as separate subjects. But in the new or the proposed curriculum, we just have home economics. Now, management is in living is a strand, is one area in home economics. Food and nutrition is one area in home economics. And then clothing and textile is one area in home economics. So in practice, when students enter senior high school to study this new curriculum, the proposed one, you are doing home economics, and you will take management and living as one of the compulsory subjects, plus choosing either food and nutrition or clothing and textiles in addition. So you get your complete home econ subjects to move on. And mind you, when you go to our schools, some are equipped with certain resources and others with other resources. So a school may have more resources to support clothing and textiles than food and nutrition. So if the student finds himself in a school that is that, they can take that. Technical has the same. Technical is one subject that has about 7 areas, but all these 7 areas have been condensed into one.
Cutting down the number, what's the new about it?
Okay, so what is new about it is that we'll be venturing then into the conversation about choosing and picking and combining the subjects. So whereas if you take technical, the student going for technical will take technical electricals, woodwork as electives separately. Now you won't take electricals, woodwork, metalwork, and others as separate subjects. You are taking it just as one, so that you have chance to concentrate on other areas. And the reason is that we've seen overlaps and repetitions in most of the subjects. If you take a subject like a concept like pollution. Now, geography talks about pollution, science talks about pollution, social studies talks about pollution. But then, in treating pollution, they all seem to be treating it in almost the same way. When you go to mathematics and physics, concept of vectors is taught in mathematics, is taught in physics.
As well.
Now, these are repetitions and overlaps. So what the writers did was that they did comparisons and tidying up and building one on the other. So what I need to learn in mathematics before I can learn vectors in physics, it will come earlier, so that you don't have to saddle the students to learn all those things, and also give the teachers the big task of trying to use the whatever pedagogy they can. And by pedagogy, I mean methodology they use to teach the student to grasp this concept. So that is how we have managed to work down on the numbers. Repetition, and then overlaps.
And there's this point about the core subjects. What are you doing about that as well? Because it's one aspect where we find a lot of repetitions. Because if, for instance, say I'm offering a course in science, I'm still forced to do the usual mathematics, general science, as it will be termed. What's different now in that arrangement?
Okay, what is different now is that the NACA, with the support of the experts, have written for all the subjects like I mentioned. They have itemized a couple as core. English, for example, is one, maths is one, science.
So we are keeping the core subject.
We are having core, but there is a conversation going on, and stakeholders are still being consulted. Teachers are being consulted, subject association, to make input into the final decision on this. For example, a science student who is taking chemistry, physics, or biology and physics may not have to do the core science. Because
it goes without saying. I mean, it's something that should happen, isn't it?
But currently, you do the core science and you do the other elective areas. Equally, the mathematics. We're having conversation with the experts, and the question is, the students who are doing add maths or e-maths, as we call it now, do they have to do core maths? Because the evidence show that often those students who are taking elective maths don't really pass the core maths very well.
Oh, really?
Yes, they don't pass it very well. And there are reasons behind that which the subject experts who are aware can speak to. And the question is, do they really have to take the core maths in addition to the elective maths? But that is left for the consultation with the experts going on to know. So those students who are doing more of the humanities and the arts subjects, maybe they'll be measuring more in the taking their core from the science. One thing that is emerging very good is Agric is coming up as a strong core subject that every student will have to have a feel. We are our economy.
Operation Feed Yourself.
Is built on that, and also, like I said, issues of STEM are running as teams across all the various subjects. So that is how we've gone about it.
But how about what's happening around the world and making sure that our school children, of course, meet those standards? So you are not just training them because of the country, but you also want them to compete globally. Are we meeting that?
I would say yes. Already, our students are not doing badly when they get a chance to move out of
Outside.
this country. People can study different subjects from our high school. When they move outside, they are able to enter areas. Somebody can do the humanity, as in humanities, go to some contents and branch into science because they have access courses and programs for them. But here, we lock our children. So our learners in high school, they are not doing badly already. But one, the approach we use in teaching them in terms of the methodology, which I'm calling the pedagogy, has not really enabled them to be assertive.
Okay, so the pedagogy is the
Methodology.
Okay.
I mean, we've been calling it methodology.
Okay.
But the difference is that as a teacher, my knowledge of pedagogy gives me a deeper understanding of not only the methods to use to teach the subject, but also my understanding of the background of the child, the psychology that is needed to get a child to learn. So if you take a child who is from a very rural background, he's never seen aeroplane before. He just sees it in the movies or when they look up in the sky. And then you have another child who grew up around airport residential
Always
area.
seeing the
They are in the same classroom and you are teaching them. Now, when you're using examples about aeroplane to teach, as a teacher in planning my lesson, I need to be mindful of how I'm going to organize my content and how I'm going to deliver my content. And pedagogy is what prepares me to be aware of the different learning needs and including the backgrounds of the people and how that shapes how the learners think.
And for those who are not aware of the trial process, what were you doing? Take us through the process then.
What the NACA did is to plot out the entire journey for the curriculum development. So the first thing that they did was there was an analysis of the situation on the ground to pick out some of the issues that need addressing. For example, the chew-poor part thing is one. So with those in mind, the team of experts were constituted to help write the curriculum. And NACA fly an advert and draw people from secondary school teachers, College of Education teachers, university lecturers and professors, plus some few people from industry. So these constitute the team. And for each of the subjects, we have between 5 and 15 people in a team working to draft the curriculum. Then what I did was that instead of just sitting down and writing, there was an engagement with industry, schools, heads, teachers, to find out their views about what they want to see in the curriculum and what they see as a problem with the existing curriculum. And that's helped in generating key themes that informed the whole drafting of the new curriculum. Then when the experts met, they now moved to schools and had engagement with secondary school students. At one point, we brought secondary school students together to sit with the subject groups, speak with them, tell them what their challenges are, what they see as a strength in the existing curriculum, and which areas needs improving. So with that information, the experts now went into action and drafted something. There have been several rounds of meeting. They write, a team will review, it comes back to them, they revise with their review comments, and it goes back and forth. Now, at a certain stage, the team of writers see the need to trial the curriculum. That is to take it to senior high schools, give it to teachers, and let them trial teaching it. So what the group did was that all the subjects that are in, that those condensed and combined, were taken into senior high schools, zone the country into the northern, the middle, and the southern zone, category A, B, and C schools. So the trialing team now penetrated into these schools and gave the draft curriculum to the teachers to micro teach it, to trial it in their school to see whether it is what they want to see and after that, engage them further for their input. So it's not like a group of people sit in Accra or somewhere, write something and give them. And in the discussion and some of the comments that came up, it's clear that teachers really saw the change. Equally, the students. So what the team did was that in a particular school, when the team gets there, they give the curriculum to the teacher, watch them teach it anyhow you want, let's see. Then they will teach it. Then after that, they take them through what goes into the writing and what is expected for them to do before they go and teach it again. And both the teachers and the students see a vast change in how it was first taught and what happened after. Now, that point us also to the fact that there is a strong need for professional training of teachers to be able to, or capacity building of teachers to be able to teach this new curriculum effectively. The reason is that apart from just the subject contents that have been put together and recommended methods of how to teach it, so first there is a broad philosophy of secondary school curriculum. Then out of the broad philosophy and vision for secondary school curriculum, there are subject-specific philosophies and visions to guide every subject. And based on the philosophy, the vision, the goal, the rationale, and how to address it, the key themes and concepts to be taught in the curriculum have been identified and populated. And what every learner is expected to be able to do, what the learning outcomes are, have been listed and categorized. And that guides which methodologies and approaches the teacher will use to teach it, as well as how the teacher will be assessing each learning indicator step by step in that manner. So that is how far we've done it. And the feedback from the trialing of the draft curriculum with teachers in the schools from the 3 zones have been brought back to the team of experts. There were notes taking, field notes taking, some videos taking, and then the writers watch this and use it to improve what they have drafted. So that is how far the journey has gone. And as part of that, stakeholder engagement is also ongoing as part of the process. So that has how the journey has been so far.
Prof, I think it sounds really good, and we'll just be hoping that once we fully run this, it will be effective.
We pray so.
Yeah, we're praying for that. But, well, you've heard from the experts. Professor Eric Daniel Ananga is a curriculum expert who's been working with the Ministry of Education and the National Council for Curriculum and Assessment. I'm sure that you've been informed and educated on the proposed secondary education curriculum. But that's all time we'll allow us here on the Edu Talk Show. The Edu Talk Show is brought to you by the Ministry of Education in partnership with the Teacher Education Journal. My name is Blessed Sogah, and we'll see you in the next episode when we meet here again. Keep watching.